right, everyone, welcome back to the Final Jazz Podcast. I'm your host, Martin Bernal, and I'm joined tonight by the one and only.
Edgar Soriano.
So, Edgar Soriano. So, of course, this guy's undeniable. If you guys don't know, check him out at The Groove Room. He does his own podcast, which is where I got the inspiration for this whole project. So, I'm very honored to be here in his own studio today.
Thank you.
So, Edgar, I know we're a little bit acquainted through our
mutual
friends,
100%.
but for the people who don't know, which of course is the audience of perhaps one professor and two TAs. Let's go, audience. Let's start off. Can you tell us the bit about your own journey with music?
Yeah.
So how did you first get involved, and what inspired you to pursue it so seriously?
Yeah, so I want to say it all began with my uncle. I want to say around 8 or 9. He taught me the piano, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. So then I went into middle school, and I'll never forget my middle school band director. She really pushed me and really made me go above and beyond, and I feel like that's where my love of music developed, and college was just the next step.
Really?
So not college, sorry. High school was the next step. Yeah, sorry, I skipped one there. High school was the next step, and here I am in college, and I'm still pursuing it, so I must like it to some extent. So
That's actually kind of a theme I've been picking up, across my interviews and across my own journey. Where did you go to middle school, actually?
Actually, I passed by there today. Dexter Middle School. It is,
Dexter.
right next to my college too. So
Really?
How lame is that? But I went to Dexter Middle School.
Dexter, yeah. So I went to East Whittier Middle School, and dropping this for the audience for the first time. I was involved in my middle school instrumental program. I played the euphonium, and
okay.
I don't know. I forget about it, and which is odd because it was like the height of when I played music. Like in the 8th grade group, went to Carnegie Hall, and then I forgot that was kind of a thing to take seriously. And now as I have kind of taken a step back from music.
Yeah, 8th grade to Carnegie Hall. Wow.
That's such a strange experience, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially because now I'm almost like a stranger in the music world, kind of coming and doing these interviews and hearing so much things I have yet to know. Makes me miss playing the horn a little bit.
No,
honestly.
yeah,
Maybe
you should
this
hop
project
on
will
it.
get me back on the euphonium.
Please, I hope it does, dude.
All right, and of course, this is the Final Jazz Podcast. So, as our esteemed expert, what on earth is jazz? Let's get this question out of the way.
Jazz. All right. I see this term tossed around a lot. I feel like there's a very big difference between vocal jazz and traditional combo jazz, because you got your big bands, you got your like I said, vocal jazz, and you got your combos. Combos I feel like is the original form,
Mm-hmm.
and then vocal jazz is a sequel, and I don't know, I just feel like a combo, which if you don't know, it's people like John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie. So I don't know, these guys you're not even gonna remember, but these guys,
these names in lecture.
yeah, but I feel like these guys are kind of the pioneers of what we call combo jazz today, and I feel like, in my opinion, that's when I hear jazz, that's what I think about.
Yeah. So
not to disregard big band jazz, not to disregard vocal, but yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you took everything people would call jazz, threw it in a pot, boiled it down, and you could pull 2 or 3 bullet points out and tell people what is jazz. What are you going to tell them?
Jazz is a very intimate style of music, so that's one, intimate.
Of course.
It is also very loosely, it's very loose,
Mm-hmm.
Like anyone could do whatever the hell they want, Yeah. It's very loose, and it's very I'd say those are the two, very intimate and very loose. I feel like that's what jazz is.
It's really a great way to say it. You don't have to break it down between a heterophonic, ideal, or syncopation, or improvisation. Just loose.
It's just loose, yeah.
Yeah, it's not something
you really do anything with it.
It's not something you really got to grab and hold on tight.
Yeah, 100%.
That's cool. So, of course, you said you started your journey in middle school, and you said you were playing the piano?
Yes, the piano was my very first instrument.
Interesting. And you've been playing piano for how long now?
I began when I was 8 or 9, so I'm about to turn 20. So About 10 years, yeah, give or take 10 or 11. But yeah, and that thing has always been super
Wow.
duper special. Yeah.
And did you start off playing with jazz, or like what do you think got you into jazz itself?
Jazz, this comes down to high school.
Really?
But I did not begin with it. But jazz in high school, it was a very saturated topic, but then I began to deep dive and I'm like, oh wow. Again, this all happened in high school. So high school was the moment where jazz was like, oh shit, this is pretty cool. Sorry. But
It's okay.
yeah, in high school is where it began. Yeah, jazz.
So can you tell me more about that? Like what year
Yeah.
was it? What
So
how'd you get put in?
yeah, so freshman year I was I was a freshman during COVID.
Oh, really?
So I was playing the keys in our Jazz 2 band at Lucerna. I
Lucerna
feel like
High
that's
School.
where I know you from, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we were acquainted.
Yeah, we were-
Lucerna,
yeah.
might be
Yeah.
some connections.
Lucerna High School. Yeah, so freshman year, jazz was like, oh, this is jazz band. Let's see what this is, you know. So I played keys, and I don't know, everything was very strange from traditional music I'd like seen or I'd played before.
In the sense of COVID-19, or in the sense of you're living up to a different ideal. Of
A
music
different,
for
yeah, a
jazz?
different ideal. Yeah, in both ways. But jazz was just very different to me, and I was like, oh, this is cool, you know. It's strange but cool, and yeah. So I was introduced right at the smack of freshman year,
Really?
and since then it's become less and less saturated, and I feel like now I know what jazz is, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really through COVID. That's not a year I would choose to get
2020.
involved in anything new whatsoever.
That's crazy.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's really quite. Well, I mean, you were throwing out quite a number of names earlier
Yeah.
in terms of pioneers of jazz. I
100%.
was wondering, since I try to ask this for all my interviewers, like, who's your number one musical inspiration and why?
And okay, like in general or jazz? Well, since it is final jazz,
I mean-
might as
I
well.
mean, maybe if you want to say stick with jazz, let's go.
Yeah, let's stick with jazz.
course.
Jazz, I'd say John Coltrane. John Coltrane. I'm a tenor sax player myself, so just hearing his like laser beam focused kind of playing and just the music he makes, like he can go from crazy to very like beautiful, you know, like I feel like Coltrane, again, like I mentioned, being a pioneer, he's definitely my biggest inspiration jazz wise. John Coltrane.
Well, that's great. So, and of course, I mean, I'm trying to introduce you to this audience as, this
Yes.
is the guy I know in music. So, can you explain like what musical or like other type of like artistic endeavors do you do? Like,
Yeah,
currently? And what are you looking forward to?
I try to do everything. I try to be as diverse as I can. Not only in jazz, I'm also in the orchestra at my college. I'm in the choir at my college. I'm in the symphonic band as well. I just try to get immersed in everything, and I feel like that's the golden rule. Just don't stick with one thing. Stick with as many as you can within reason.
I guess you're really living up to the jazz ideal.
Oh
Throw
my
everything in a
gosh.
blend. Do a little bit
yeah,
of everything.
a little bit of everything.
That's really great. Yeah. So
yeah, that's the point of jazz. Just being loose, just being open. You know, that's the third. Because you told me to
Yeah.
limit it down to two, but open, intimate, and loose. You know,
interesting.
got to be open to everything in jazz. But yeah, just diversity is key.
That's a very philosophical take on jazz, I think, because everyone that I've talked to like so far they've always, I mean, very rightfully so. They said, "Oh, jazz is syncopated. Jazz is marked by syncopation and
Yes, and it is
this-
all those things.
and improvisation." But that's a very interesting philosophical take. Like, you will feel jazz as open, loose, and intimate.
yeah, no, but the everything. Not to disregard anyone else's. That's very, very much,
Yeah.
very much so. But yeah,
I mean, and of course, that does live up to the jazz ideal of everyone has their own take on what jazz even
everyone
is.
has their own say. Yeah, jazz is whatever the hell you make of it.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we wanted to get more into the, of course, history.
Yeah.
So, of course, you definitely know more than I. Jazz has a very, very rich history. I mean, especially being rooted
Yeah.
in, the music of African American communities.
That's 100% given.
I mean, so going from that to its, of course, its influence in modern music, which is, definitely undeniable. Like, what part of jazz's history do you think is the most compelling story?
The most compelling. Well, I'll start off with there's this Duke Ellington song called "Take the A Train." I'm sure again.
I believe that's on my listening list.
Yeah, and after this interview, I hope you give it a gander. But yeah, there's this song called "Take the A Train," and the history behind that is in Harlem. I believe in the 19. I don't know. Don't quote me on
20s,
this.
I believe.
Yeah, they were only African Americans were only allowed to take the A train, because there was many other trains, but due to segregation and whatnot, the A train was the only train they could take to Harlem.
Which is almost crazy to think about because, when I came into this jazz class and my knowledge of segregation in the Jim Crow era was literally just like, if you were south of like probably Nashville, that's when that happened. But I didn't even know that this was going on in Harlem.
But the beautiful thing is they made their own community.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that said, it wasn't segregation. It was just, the black people have their own towns and the white people have their own towns. And Harlem was for African Americans. So so Duke Ellington wrote that because in order to reach Harlem, you had to take the A train, hence the name. And it's a great tune. I recommend checking it out if you're not familiar with it. But I just feel like that's where jazz is rooted. It's rooted in all these names, and I could go on talking about a bunch of names and their significance.
Yeah, we can take this all the way back to time.
But I could talk about all their names, their significance, but that one really struck a chord with me because I was like, oh, take the A train, like, huh? And it just has a meaning, such a upbeat song that has
that's rooted in such like a mundane, but like I guess like you would say such an intimate thing of
your
daily commute. Just take the A train. Like if I were to write a song called "Take the E Line" to get to UCLA,
it would not have the same significance.
But the fact that they could play it and live it up.
Yeah.